Hey everybody, it's Business Insights with Matt Milia, and I am super excited today because I've got Cliff Freeman on, and if you want to learn how to nail, scale, and grow a team, do it the right way, you'll want to watch this episode all the way through. Welcome to Business Insights with Matt Milia. I'm your host, Matt Milia, and in this podcast, we'll talk about the real, raw, uncut business success secrets you won't find anywhere else. Follow my journey from entry level to CEO. We discuss real actionable items you can plug into your business right away. To subscribe to our weekly top tips, you can go to www.mattpodcast.com and join our community of elite high-level performers. And if you're interested in our inside sales company, you can go to www.appointmentstoday.com to jump on a free strategy call. And now, stay tuned for our podcast. All right. What's happening, Cliff?
Hey, brother, not much. How you doing there?
And I'm doing.
You're hanging out in the big C town, right? Aren't you in Cleveland?
Oh yeah, I'm in Cleveland.
Yeah, man. Good. You guys still got some winter weather up there?
No, thank goodness. Actually, we got our last of snow in like early May, so it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy how this stuff goes over here.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you jumping on because I couldn't think of a better guest today, especially someone who it's funny because Stephanie and I both started watching Cliff Notes, and we started watching that about probably right after you launched it. I think you were like a couple episodes in, and you were part of the inspiration for me doing my own podcast. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, man. You're using better technology than I was, when I was doing the show from the house, and I really like this platform you got. It's awesome.
Well, good. Well, it's StreamYard for everyone that's watching. So, Cliff, if you would tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and really, let everyone know too a little bit how you got into like the whole real estate industry and how you're crushing it there.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, Matt, really, it's an honor, and I really appreciate the invite to be on your show today. And please say hi to Stephanie. I'm sorry she's not here with us. You guys are dear friends of mine and Karen's, and miss seeing you guys. We doing the virtual thing here, but we always have a great time when we get together in Vegas or Orlando or wherever it is that this crazy business takes us. But so that's where did I start? Well, let's see. My mom was in real estate back in the day, and this is back when I think Fred and Barney were also. It was the Flintstone Rubble brokerage, back then, and they used to have these big thick MLS books, and I was in school, and my mom, I never could figure out what she did. My dad, I knew he worked for a corporation. He was gone 8 to 5. He'd come back and he was home on the weekends and stuff like that, but. My mom was one of those people. She would joke. She would say, well, your tuition's due at school. I got to go sell a house. So that's really how I kind of get introduced to the business. They were literally typing contracts. She was in triplicate using carbon paper on an IBM Selectric typewriter. It was really wild back then. A lot of things have changed, needless to say, but it was honestly when I was with my mom, I swore, I said, I'll never get into real estate. And, I tried to avoid it for many, many years, but eventually it just it took me over. That was the impetus. The thing that started it was my mom. Then I got my license in '87, kind of dabbled in some commercial sales, and I was heavy into the bar and restaurant business at that time. So I bought a couple of buildings and things like that. And really real estate was a sideline until I moved back to Dallas from Houston at the turn of the century. Oh, that sounds so epic, so important, but it was right at around 2000, and I started really dipping my foot back in the water through the lending business and became a mortgage broker, and then shortly after that got back into real estate. And then what happened in 07, 08, 09, it was the great, whatever they call it now, train wreck. And that's when lending, got to be a real pain in the butt. So I really just poured everything into real estate sales, and it's been a great ride ever since.
I love it. The subprime meltdown. I was a part of that.
Oh, golly, man. Was that nasty or what? I mean, that was just,
Oh, it was. It was. It's crazy.
I'm sure we've all got good war stories about those days, but yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't lived through something like that, that was a great time to get into the real estate business because it was definitely flushed out. All of the bedroom agents were back, doing what they were doing before they got into real estate. So.
Yeah. Same with lenders too. A lot of lenders went out. I mean, it was crazy to watch banks just shut their doors and not take on any more paper, and the mass sell-off of, the good old subprime meltdowns. So, yeah, I remember, and I was on the subprime side for part of that, and then moved over to like a hybrid paper for a short period of time, and that was just a different world, to say the least. But
you remember the Nina, the Penta, and the Santa Maria loans, right? The no income, no asset, all the DF loans, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All the mirror, yeah. Crazy.
The pay option arms where people could pay 1.25% interest of their house. Yeah. Like you have a $500,000 house, your mortgage payment's like $800. I mean, that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, it's like, you start out with a $400,000 mortgage. A year later, it's a $500,000 mortgage. That's California lending. Funky math for sure.
Yeah, crazy. A lot of stuff. That's for sure. Well, hey, it's gotten to a point though now where things seem to be stabilizing. I know the last lender I talked to, they were worried because, of course, everything was going on they were upping it to 700 was the score. Now it's, back down to 620. So, which, brings me to my next question for you in your real estate business and where you guys are at. Of course, a lot of people are anticipating there's going to be some sort of another crash, a meltdown, a self-correction, however you want to put it. But it seems like you guys have just been really, just flying forward. What have you experienced in your business with everything that's going on?
Well, there's a lot of variables and a lot of unknowns out there right now. We had in our market, we had about a 25% pullback in sales in the month of April, but it was only temporary. I mean, since then we've come back. The market's come back really strong, and you had a simultaneous shift in the supply and the demand curves. And essentially what that means is that transaction volume went down, but because there was a shift of both curves, prices really didn't do much. I follow a gentleman named Dave Steck, and you may have heard of him. He's been on some shows recently talking about, his thoughts on things. He called the great mess back in 07, 08, before. He was early on that one. And one thing that he pointed out was, Matt, it was about 21 months from the peak of the market in, say, 06, 07, until the market really bottomed out. So what that clue that it left us, that part of history left us, was that it's not going to happen simultaneously. In other words, the market's not going to implode on itself. It takes time for for the certain wheels to come off, right? So there'll be parts of the market, might be financing to start with. Back then it was. Nowadays, lenders are tightening. The other thing is we've lost over 30 million jobs since this whole coronavirus thing started. They call them furloughs. Well, we'll see how many of those people come back and get reemployed. But the problem is that, sellers have decided to sit tight. If you look at stocks like Home Depot, the home improvement stores and so forth, they're way up because people are now, it's anticipated that as much as 10 to 20% of the workforce could be permanently working from home going forward. So that's going to impact a lot of things. People are, really looking for the things now in the market that people are looking for are, the home office. That's definitely a big thing. And they want amenities. They want private spaces because they know that the country clubs and other places they used to go hang or go travel, it's going to be very limited going forward in the future. So I still think that we haven't seen the end of this. I agree with Dave that it's going to take some time. We've got to make hay right now while the sun is shining, as we say here in Texas, right? Yeah. And, everybody here, I believe, expects the market to plow all the way through to the end of summer, where typically we would see a slowdown, and sometime in late June, July, it would start to slow down a little bit in anticipation of school starting. By the way, historically, the 2 weeks either side of the day that school starts tend to be the worst times you could ever want to list a house, because everybody's attention is off of moving and buying houses and on getting their kids in school. So I don't know if that's going to be the same this year or not, but I do expect things to be pretty hot and heavy all the way through at least the middle of August. And we're starting to see a lot of signs of the pickup here in our market.
Yeah, I've noticed around just our area, seeing more signs are out there, more activity, which is great. And really with the way that your team, your infrastructure is built, so you guys have over 30 agents. You have, I believe it's 4 ISAs, and then you're doing over 1,000 pay-per-click leads a month, which is pretty amazing. How are you guys handling some of the conversations when, because of course people are saying, I'm afraid to go in, or whatever the case may be. And I know some are, some aren't. I think every market's a little bit different. Are you guys running into any of that? What are you seeing?
Yeah, this is the time to be a trusted advisor. This is not the time to push people into something they don't want to do. Our conversations are based around, how are you? How's your family been affected by this? How can we help you? We're going to be dealing with people who are going to be transitioning now. Remember, the government is on top of this. They've created the forbearance and so forth. But I think that the big elephant that people aren't talking about in the room is the fact that in the past, I think that the statistics are just harrowing. It's something like 70% of the people who missed one payment back in 07, 08 wound up in foreclosure. And if they missed 2 payments, it was like a 95% chance they were going to go into foreclosure. So now, granted, it's different. I know every time something like this happens, it's different. But I think we can all learn a little bit from those statistics. And if you believe that there aren't going to be problems and hiccups down the road, I think it's like Tony Robbins says, it's like, you can't just go into the garden and say, hey, there's no weeds in the garden, and, the garden's full of weeds, right? You can't positive talk yourself through this all the way. Now, you can stay on the positive side of things, but I think you've also got to be a realist and understand that there are some systemic issues going forward here that the government, can't always be on top of, and they're not always the first to get there to fix things, and before things start to break. So I see some rough, bumpy territory here in between now and the next couple of years. A lot of unknowns. We don't know if this crazy virus is going to raise its ugly head again, and we don't know. Even to me, the bigger risk is the election that's coming up. The pendulum swings to extremes. I mean, we've had tremendous prosperity in this country for the last 4 years, and without trying to put a political bent on this, a shift in policy, a major shift in policy toward taxation away from growth, could have a significant impact on the housing economy, all economies. And you couple that with the issues we're having with China, there's a lot of ifs, and if is a big word for 2 letters. So my crystal ball is pretty cloudy right now, Matt. I don't know about yours, but like I said, I think you've got to stay focused. You can't worry about stuff like that. You really don't have control over it. So you've got to stay focused on what's happening in the next 90 days in my life. That's, I always talk about strategic plans that are actually rolling strategic plans. You look back and, you look ahead rather 90 days. You're always looking ahead 90 days at a time, and just, taking care of business for that, that's where you can have the most impact in your business. So that's what we're trying to do as a team here, is prepare and anticipate, the extra demand, the pent up demand that we're going to expect to see here in the next couple of months. And it's already bubbling up. So we're ready to take it on.
That's great advice. And yeah, you're right. I mean, we definitely don't know what we don't know. One of the things though that really resonates with me, and how you had said it, and you threw the stats out there about how if someone missed a payment, 70% of the time they were foreclosing just on one missed payment, which is pretty amazing. So
let me preface that by saying that statistically, 70% of those people who had missed one payment eventually wound up in foreclosure. Not saying that the banks
Right.
foreclosed on them right away. They typically
Oh
don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's what it led to back then. Now,
So what it tells.
I'm sorry, but I just got to admit, there's a lot more equity in people's houses right now.
Very true.
Still, it's not clear what could happen, whether it's short sales or just distressed sales, what kind of situation we're going to be looking at. People could stand to lose a lot of equity here. How about that? Let's just put it that way.
Right. That's so true. And I think now, though, is the time to really to reinvent yourself, to, if you were struggling in one area or another, I mean, of course, double down on your strengths, but also find people that can help you, get a coach, which how long have you been coaching now, Cliff?
Oh gosh, 2000, I guess it was 2006 or 7 is when, maybe it was late 07. I was a productivity coach for a Keller Williams Market Center here in Frisco. Is when I first got involved in coaching. So it's been, I don't know, more than 12 years now, probably 12, 14 years, something like that now.
And what would you say is your favorite, what is your favorite topic, your favorite aspect of business to coach on that people you see measurable results?
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know if I have a favorite part of coaching. What's really great, though, is to witness a breakthrough when you've been working on a part of someone's, either their mindset or their business, and they have that zero moment of truth. They just, the epiphany, and things just fall into place. It starts working, and then they go on from there. They have the breakthrough, and they go on to do whatever their goal was, double their business or whatever. Coaching is one of those kinds of, you develop relationships with your clients, very confidential relationships. I probably knew more about some of my clients' business, personal affairs than I cared to, but more than, counselors, other people, sometimes I felt like I didn't have the right license for what I was doing. But, you have to just hang in there as a coach and be there and be steadfast and supportive, and take that role of, the person and the encourager, the Barnabas, the person that believes in the other person. The problem you run into is when you believe in somebody more than they do. And that's one thing. That's kind of the opposite of, what I enjoy about coaching is when I really believe in somebody who doesn't have that same belief in themselves, and it just hurts to see me or to see someone not self-actualizing. But the good times outweigh the bad for sure. And I've developed so many great relationships over the years with folks that I've had the privilege and the pleasure to work with. It's been great. I mean, being able to coach people really is, it definitely keeps the mind, focused on improvement in real estate and being from a mindset and a position of contribution. But I'll tell you, it's probably the greatest thing about it now is I essentially get to, because of the new model that we're in, I get to have the benefit of coaching people without having to whack their credit cards every month. And, I have a lot bigger reach than I did. And I actually spend a lot more time now helping others than I could have before, just because of the model that EXP has, where, we have large networks of agents that are in our revenue share groups. And, we're actually incentivized, to help those people grow their business. So it's just an unbelievable last 3.5 years, for me, from a coach's standpoint. It's been a lot more fun and a lot more productive than it ever has been.
I'm glad that you unpacked that, because I knew probably people were thinking like, how do you do that? How do you get coached for free? But yeah, I mean, but it is a way to give back. It is a way to invest in your people. And I think the most amazing part is that you no longer have square mile barriers where you've got somebody that's within, this person's within 20 to 30 miles of my office. They work for me on my team, so I have to coach them. I mean, you're coaching people all over the U.S. and I think you have someone in Canada as well. So,
Oh yeah.
I mean, you've got people all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, there's really no barriers. The old model, the broken model, that, as we call it, the franchise model, really limits your ability to grow. And if you've got people listening in your audience, Matt, who have aspirations to grow a team and to grow on a regional or even a national or even a worldwide basis, there's only one place to come to do that, and that's EXP, because EXP is worldwide, growing into, I say worldwide, we're expanding worldwide, but EXP was designed for people who have a much bigger vision than has ever been possible in real estate, people who really want to explore the possibility of planning teams across the country or up in Canada or Australia, the UK, New Zealand now, and going into some Central American, South American countries in the future, Europe. I mean, it's all on the map. So it's, it really is. And that's what I look forward to. I just wish that this whole thing had happened about 10 or 20 years earlier so I could, have more time to enjoy it. I would love to see what this company is going to look like in 30 or 40 years. I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So taking a step back with everything in terms of you having a team, managing a team, but then also, of course, managing and coaching and training people on a national level. What are some lessons that you wish you had learned before even starting a team? And, what are some great things that you can offer to someone who's thinking about either getting into real estate or starting a team?
I've really been blessed because I've had great mentors all along the way. I can tell you what I find are some of the general pitfalls, and I can just start I'm just going to start with what pops into my mind. As you move from being a transaction manager, there's really the pyramid of wealth, as I call it, starts with you've got to master your trade. You've got to be a great a real estate agent first. You've got to master that. You've got to do 40, 50 deals a year yourself before you can really master the process of real estate. The next step from there is when you start to grow a team and you get into the messy middle. This is where you get into management and you start dealing with people. And this is a hard transition for entrepreneurs. There are very few people who can successfully birth a business, grow a business, and then see it to maturity. The names that come to mind that have done it are names like Michael Dell, Bill Gates, even at Apple, Steve Jobs got kicked out of his own company because he was a little bit of a wild ass and didn't get along with. I mean, he was a little bit of a, I don't want to say a narcissist, but he had issues that he had to get fixed before he could come back and take that company to greater successes. It's very hard. There's just a whole different, requirements and skill sets to go from being a startup to running a mature publicly traded company. So as you start to grow a company, what I've found is that people really don't understand the hiring process. They don't have a hiring process in place. And the biggest hurdles that I've seen people have to overcome are mishires, hiring mismatches. And it starts with core values. 90% of the time, if you hire somebody that doesn't work out, it's because they don't have the same core values that you and your company have. So it's just, I cannot overstress to someone who's trying to grow a team the importance of understanding first who you are, what your DNA is, what your core values are, and then making sure that you hire to those core values. I've seen it apply from everything from businesses to personal relationships to relationships with your kids. It really is important that those core values are the basis for the relationship. So that would be number one. And then perhaps hiring in the wrong order. A lot of people who are going from a solo agent to start a team will start pulling buyer agents right away, pulling them into the team because they figure, well, they don't cost me anything. All I got to do is find buyer agents and and bring them on board. But where you run into trouble there is that you have to understand why buyer agents join a team. Number one is they either don't know how to or don't like to lead generate. And number two, they're missing the structure and accountability, and that's what they're seeking. So providing massive lead generation, the structure and the accountability on your team is extremely vital. But most solo agents don't have the capacity to do that, especially if they haven't already hired an admin and delegated much of their real estate work, right? Because what we're talking about here really is income replacement. So in other words, I'm going to have to pour into buyer agents now that are not producing at the level that I am, which means I'm going to have to step back some of the production that I'm doing. And a lot of people will run their business right into the ground if they don't do things in the right order. So that's why it's key. Gary Keller, and I love Gary. He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, I'm a disciple of his. I still think that at this point, though, he's kind of Old Testament and EXP is New Testament. But he did hit a couple of things right on the head with MREA, and that is there are 3 key hires, that a team leader is going to make. One is an admin, and it's got to be somebody who's capable of taking over operations of your business at some point. And KW uses the term cul-de-sac talent, which means you don't want to hire somebody who's going to be limited in that position. You want to hire somebody who's got the potential to grow 4 or 5 years down the road with the team. So you really want to get somebody that's an ace in the hole in that admin position. The second thing is you've got to have a great lead buyer's agent, somebody that eventually can help take over the buyer side of your business. And lastly would be, a really strong listing agent. As you prepare to step out of the business, you want somebody who can handle that side of things. So those key hires are the ones. So the question you asked me is what are the pitfalls? What things do we need to be aware of? So really, I want to bundle all that kind of into an awareness of hiring, and it gets into core values, strategic planning. It's kind of a bigger set of things that are happening here, but let's just call it the hiring piece. So that would be number one. Number two would be to underestimate the number of leads, good qualified leads that you're going to need to generate in order to feed your team. Okay, so and that really falls into 2 areas. One is lead generation, the other is lead conversion. And I know you're an expert on both of those, right? That's why you started your company. And again, that whole piece of the puzzle it's mission critical. It's the linchpin. If you don't get that right, then you're not going to be able to retain agents. You're not going to be able to to generate the income that you need to support the team. So that lead generation would be the next thing. And then I would just say, I'll throw in lastly is, you really want to, again, this is another term from MREA, you want to lead with revenue. You have to be very careful about how you're spending your money and give it a green light, red light, okay? When you evaluate something, Matt, how many squirrels there are, how many shiny objects, how many salespeople, and just like me, we get calls every day from people trying to sell us the latest in lead gen, and all these people on LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn has turned out now to be just a hot mess because of all the people that are trying to hawk their wares to the real estate agents now. But the reality is that you've got to stay very focused and make every marketing dollar, every dollar that you spend has to have a return, a positive return on investment, and you need to create a hurdle rate. In other words, a minimum, whether it's 4x, 5x, 10x, whatever that number is, and go through and make sure that every dollar that you're spending is behaving and creating a positive return on investment. So those are probably my top 3 kind of things that I see on the horizon for most people that they need to be aware of, when they're starting a team.
I am so glad I asked you that question. So that was awesome. You just literally gave so much value that was amazing. So
well, I probably went a little deeper than
no, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did though, because it's so funny. I'll have people that so we run ads for Inside Sales, and we'll have people jump in the calendar. And one of the first things I ask them is, what is your current team structure? Is it just you? Are you solo agent? Do you have other agents? most of them tell me I have other agents. Oh, that's great. And you guys have admins and transaction coordinators. And again, I look at those two can be interchangeable because they are, maybe I'm off on that, but I feel like an admin, you can train them up to be a transaction coordinator, but you can also give them different roles and responsibilities. The number one thing that I hear is they don't have someone that's a transaction coordinator. They don't have an admin. And I tell them, well, what's one of the biggest problems you're trying to solve? Well, I spend most of my day doing paperwork, and then, I'm out running appointments. And like, okay, well, if we were to set more appointments, there's still going to be that huge problem with paperwork not getting done, and you have to close the deals to get it to the finish line. So I'll generally tell people, hire that administrative person first. And there's so many places you can go to do that. I mean, you could hire someone virtually, you can hire them in office, but hire that person first, have a standard operating procedure drawn out, have roles and responsibilities. It's never going to be perfect, but at least if you have elements of it dialed in, you can give them a pre-written out itinerary. This is what I need you to focus on this day. This is what I need you to focus on. And then the one thing that I'm curious on in terms of your leadership style, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this because of course you actually had coached Al, and Al had coached me. So it all worked out. I have a feeling leadership style, but for you, are you more manage every element? And I hate to use the word micromanage, but micromanage, or are you more of like autonomy and grow through the organization through core values? And core values can be aligned with the other side too, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I do like to look under the hood. People respect what you inspect. And so what I do is I try to delegate that and then help those people understand what the important KPIs are for their position to measure and to be accountable for. It's one of the things, as I said, hiring, for example, an admin, eventually that person, you want to groom them to be able to take over as operations manager, to be able to run the back of your office. And so you've got to, having the job descriptions and the workflow processes set up is really key. The most important time in a person's career on your team is the first 2 weeks that they're with you. And what we find is a lot of people will hire somebody and look at them and say, okay, you're an admin. Great. Boy, do I need your help. Tell me what to do. Right?
Yeah.
And the admin walks in and goes, oh my God, I just walked into a hot mess. This person doesn't have a clue and they're expecting me to solve all their problems. So you really can't look at it like that. You've got to have enough forethought to be able to, and do the homework, do the research. There's, we partnered with Verl Workman on his training center, and he's got an entire admin training program. KW had, forget the gal's name. She had an admin training program that's open to the public. You can get help knowing how to train an admin and what they need to be doing and so forth. A good coach can help you with that. But don't just hire someone and throw them in, like a fish back into the water and say, good luck, let me know if you need anything, right? The first 2 weeks is you've got to be there and sit with them and just roll up your sleeves and get involved in what they're doing. And really, especially somebody at that level that's going to be supporting you that closely. And you need to have them, if you don't have a job plan, then sit down and create one in the first 2 weeks with them while you're there, so that they know. People have to know where they stand. They have to have accountability. They need feedback. Okay, make an agreement with them that, hey, your job is to put another 10 hours a week back in my calendar. Let's go through my calendar and figure out what we can delegate right now and work on it together as a project. Don't just hope you're hiring somebody that's got the skills and the knowledge and the know-how to walk in and automatically straighten your ass up, because it's not going to happen. Okay, you've got to be aware of your own weaknesses and know where you need help, so you can tell that person specifically, look, here's where I need help. I need help in marketing. I need help in listings, putting my listings up on MLS, or or social media or Facebook or whatever it is, because they need to be directed. Typically admins are not going to be high D and high I. They usually have a lot of S and C and some I, which means that they're followers and they need to be led. So you've got to take that leadership role. When I was talking about the pyramid earlier, about how you've got to perfect your skill set as a transaction person in the beginning, then you have to become a good manager. Well, after that, this is where the wealth is created, and that's in becoming a leader, okay, where you can grow people. And being a leader and being a manager are such different things. There's such different skill sets, and you're going to have such different outcomes. Managers push, leaders pull. You've got to, as a leader, you've got to share your vision. And not until you get to that point in your business are you really going to create significant wealth. If you're just a manager and you're just running a business, then you're too limited in scope. You've got to be able to think bigger. You've got to have a bigger vision and become a bigger leader, so that you can take what you have and multiply it and scale it and make it bigger. Like I said, I see people coming to EXP because they either already have that vision, they want to scale, they want to have something bigger than they ever could have at another traditional brokerage, or once they get here, all of a sudden they're collaborating with people like Dan Beer and Kyle Whistle and Chuck Fazio and Jay Kinder and Michael and our buddies and Al, and their eyes just get, eyes wide open. I mean, it's crazy. You see some of these people that just have these huge epiphanies about, how limited they were before, and how once they get here, they can 10x their whole vision, that kind of thing. So it really is. And that's, and again, just to kind of give credit to where we are now with the collaboration that's available within our group. It's incredible. I have never before been able to get in the middle of so many of the top agents in the world now, and and to have them available through a chat. I've got you ought to see my cell phone numbers down here. It's like a gold Rolodex or platinum, titanium. But to have access to so many great agents who are willing to collaborate. There's no competition. If there is competition, it's friendly competition. It's like, who can help somebody else the most, right? It's that kind of competition, as opposed to, hey,
right.
No, I can't give you all my stories because I'm here and I've got to make a living and feed my family. We just don't look at it that way. So I know I got off track there, Matt, but
no. I mean, that's exactly though what I want everyone to hear, because when you look at some, and again, there are a lot of amazing brokerages out there, and with the position that we're in, I mean, I see the ins and outs of all of them, but one of the things that I noticed directly from EXP is that there is a lot of collaboration. There is a lot of willingness to coach someone, train someone, assist someone, give someone an actual, and not, the thing with coaching is, in a lot of cases, someone will tell you what you should do, but then they don't always get into the actual action steps, the actual items, because at the end of the day, and not everyone, but there are, in a lot of cases, some coaches, they're not actually doing real estate, or, there's certain things that they haven't done. Even when I coach teams, I tell them, hey, listen, I have my license, but I'm not out, selling hundreds of homes. I will share with you how to get the best at conversion, how to create leads, how to, there are certain elements that I know really well. And then there are other elements I'll tell them, hey, you may want to talk with someone else about that. Where with EXP though, if let's just say maybe I don't know that and I'm the coach, I can rely on the network and say, hey, I got asked this question earlier. Maybe you can lend a hand, maybe give some insight, give some direction. You can't find that anywhere. So I think that power of community and being able to rely on everyone else, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. I mean, there's good strategy people out there, but there's no meat on the bone. Here we've got over 100 classes a week now. I mean, we've got learn every kind of Facebook marketing, how to do it, and all the technical aspects of it, with KB Core. It's not just, the fluff. It's this is how you do it kind of thing. And that's what's missing in most coaching programs. Most coaching programs don't go deep into the implementation part and the tactical part of the business. They'll stay away from recommending specific, tools and that type of thing. They'll just say, oh yeah, well, you need to call FSBOs and expireds. Well, great. Well, how do I do that? Right. So,
right.
It's one of those things. Or you need to generate leads, off of the internet. Well, great. Well, how do I do that? Well, you're going to need to find that out from somebody else. Well, that's BS. So yeah, I mean, you just got to have, you've got to have a full circle, coach or mentor in order to do that. And what's going to separate agents? I mean, Matt, let's face it. There are agents right now who are coming into the business that are going to be doing business a lot differently than we are. And it's those agents that can pick up the technology, master the technology, and also have great sales skills that are going to kill it going forward. Real estate as an industry, the skill sets that we've depended on to be successful in the past have changed, and they continue to evolve. And so if you don't have the right help, and you're not in a company that's positioned to deliver the new technology to you, whether it's, COVID-19 comes and we're already cloud-based, or, you need a buyer lead generation system. Okay, great. That comes with, joining us. You need training and coaching. Okay. So what EXP has done, and I love our company for this, we decided we're not going to white label or create our own coaching program like some other brokerages have. We're just going to let the best of the best show up here and let our agents choose who they want to coach with, because there's a lot of reasons that you might want to coach with Mike Ferry or Tom Ferry, or, just name any of the great coaches around here, Corcoran, Brian Buffini. Each of those coaches is going to help you in a particular aspect. Mike and Jay, look at we just had Tariq El Musa, join with under.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Haas Pratt's, a great coach that can help with with things. And so why limit yourself to just having access to the corporate line, whatever the corporate feels is what you should have. I mean, this firm is a firm of entrepreneurs. And this is and I love that about this company. I mean, this company was absolutely built for entrepreneurial agents who really just have such a greater vision than wanting to go rent a career. I mean, you can go create significant wealth right here, right now. And that's the beauty of, and it makes my job as a coach a lot easier, is, because we have so many more opportunities here that we can help people self-actualize and, build that legacy and create that generational wealth that they all try to do without just staying on a transaction treadmill their whole lives.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, you get to a point where in your career where you're like, okay, I don't want to be out, going to 4 or 5 listing appointments a day. And I mean, yeah, you get to that point where you want to start slowing down and you want to actually work on your business instead of working solely in it. So,
amen.
Yeah, I totally get it. Well, Cliff, thank you so much for jumping on this weekend. For everybody that wants to get a hold of you, which I should have asked you before, do you have a site or an area that you would prefer to meet with somebody, whether it's Calendly or?
I've been bad at adapting Calendly because it messes me up when people go in and just insert their stuff in my day. But I'm happy to talk to anybody and set up a time. My cell phone is 214-680-5403. Just please don't put that on the internet, okay? No, I'm just kidding. But most of you guys know how to get a hold of me. It's cliff@cliffordfreeman.com is my email address. And I just want to say, Matt, it's great to be in business with you. And I'm just so excited that, this opportunity, this is like a reunion for us. Those of us who've worked together over the years, that we've all circled back. That's why this feels so right, is because so many of the top people that I have met in my 15 years of helping, people grow their business, they've all come, most of them have come, or they haven't heard of it yet, have come here to EXP to participate in this movement. And it's really exciting to reconnect with you and Stephanie and of course Albie and the guys and Mike and Jay and everybody in our group. And you know, you got a great show here, and thank you for stepping up and doing this. I know that you're having an impact on a lot of people's lives. There's a lot of real estate agents and potential agents who are watching your show, and you really, and aside from me, you do bring on some really good talent. So I commend you for that, and I'd love to get you to return the favor and come in and sit in on my show sometime when your schedule permits. So yeah, man. But thanks again for having me on. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Cliff, and for everyone, we will see you next week, same time, same place. Cliff, thanks again, and guys, have an amazing week, and push through the challenges and make them victories. So see you guys.
You got it, brother.